It comes So the DV Connector Network, DV stands for Divine Visions. And we came together, it's a group of professionals from a variety of different industries and backgrounds and places. And we are connected by one man, Don Viapre. Don Viapre in 2015, I say, graduated from the workforce. He retired, and there was a celebration, and that celebration allowed many of us, his mentees, and he's an advisor to so many, we know that, but many of us came together during that celebration, and it was such a special time that we said we wanted to continue doing that. So periodically we'd get together in the room face to face, and it was a special time of sharing. If you're wondering what this is, let's consider it somewhat of a life lessons, or a lunch and learn. We can consider it a lunch and learn. So we're coming together to just be in the room and experience the energy and the wisdom that comes from our speakers. I'm really looking forward to passing the microphone over to Andrew in just a few minutes. But again, use the chat to ask any questions. Kind of the way we will flow is Andrew Frazier will be saying a few words, a few brief remarks, and then Don Viapre and our guest speaker will be taking the microphone on from there. But we came together because Don retired. He said to us on that day, sure, let's start getting together, but I want you as a group to continue to bond, learn from one another, connect with one another, uplift one another, support one another. And so that's what we've been doing. So this is an extension of what started back in 2015. And so I want to just acknowledge Andrew Frazier, who is in the room and who is very much, on board and very supportive of us coming together now that, the pandemic exists and we're in different parts of the world. Coming together in this Zoom room, what we call this right here, rather than just a Zoom room, we look at it as a time to be in a living room. That's what we consider this. And so, Andrew Frazier, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for extending your business's Zoom room to us. And Andrew Frazier, just in case you haven't met him, he's the founder of Small Business Like a Pro University, small business like a pro. So you can, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to grow your business, Small Business Pro University is a place where you want to go online, but you definitely want to connect with Andrew Frazier. He is also, like I am, a mentee of Don Viapre's, and I want to turn the microphone over to Andrew.
Okay, great. Thanks, Caitlin. Good morning to most of you. Good afternoon to some of you. And thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to really join in today. Excited about being here again with Don, and John, his special featured guest. And, like many of you, Don has had a important impact on my life and my success. And, I think, one thing that's important is to continue to pass it on and continue to, help each other be more and more successful and achieve goals to, build out the network. So, the goal is to provide valuable opportunities to connect and share and learn. And this is just another one of those. Definitely on Zoom, you're welcome to participate, use the chat, maybe even introduce yourself in the chat and who you are. Good things that we can take away. We're recording, so that could be available as well. But make this your time. Make sure you get the most out of it. And the goal is to continually connect, develop, and learn. And each of us has their own sphere and expertise and something to contribute. So definitely don't be shy about entering the chat, asking questions, joining in. As Kaylin mentioned, I do work with entrepreneurs and business owners and help them to be more successful through coaching, consulting, and training, and created the Small Business Pro University to really help develop entrepreneurs wherever they are in the world, whenever they're available. And you know, on top of that, also, if any of you have events or anything else you want us to know about, please feel free to put those in the chat as well. And I think we should be good. Pass back to you, Kendall, or Don. Are you ready?
You know what, Andrew, one thing that I will say is that through your company online, if you could just share again, because if there are entrepreneurs in the room who may want to join you on Tuesdays, if you can talk a little bit about what you do on Tuesday nights, that's something that I have learned from and benefited from, and maybe others in the room can too.
Okay, great. Thanks for reminding me. One thing that I do is really work, every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We do what we call Leadership Live at 8:05, and it's really an opportunity to talk to different business owners and business experts about how to become a better business leader and organizer. I'll just share my screen real quick. These are some of the episodes that we've had over the past year. We just passed our first year of weekly sessions, so definitely invite you to check us out. This week we have John Webb, and we're going to be talking about strategies for achieving long-term growth. So you're welcome to check us out. I'll put a link in the chat. And, if you're thinking about having a business, have a business, or, organizational leader, it's good information and knowledge, and they're recorded. So if you want to see previous ones, that's available as well.
Right, and I believe they're on YouTube, but they're also on Facebook, and I think I've also seen it on LinkedIn. Is that correct?
That's correct. It goes live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn at the same time, which is great. So whichever one works best for you.
Right, and Small Business Pro University, is that?
Indeed.
For this, you can go to sbprou.com, and that'll show you, that'll give you access to this and other things that we're doing. And I'll put it in the chat.
Great. I was going to say, if you could put that in the chat, that way anyone who has access, especially on the computer, can connect with your company. And so I think we're pretty much set to go. Is that correct? Thank you, Andrew. So when I just want to make it a little bit interactive on this side of the guest speakers, and that's, when you think about being the captain of your own vessel, what does that mean to you? Is any one person like to share before we jump into transitioning over to our speakers? Anyone? A lot of shy people on the phone this morning, on the call, in the living room. Anyone? Any thoughts about?
Hey, good morning. This is Kelvin King. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good morning, Kelvin King.
Yes, good morning. Just wanted to say good morning and thank you for putting this together. I'm actually a pilot at United and a new entrepreneur myself. And I've been talking with Dr. Don about getting involved in participating in today's call, and the schedule was just not going to allow that. And coincidentally, two of my last flights in a long trip canceled so I could be on the call. I do believe that there's a divine reason for being on this call today. And one of the things that I'm compelled to say in this conversation is for all of the leaders that are in leadership of their own ships, entrepreneurs that are captaining their own vessels, I would advise to make sure that you have strong mentors around you that can provide wisdom and guidance and will not be yes, sir, yes, ma'am people, but folks that will tell you what you need to hear for the betterment of your own business, for your own institution, your own organization, your own ministry, whatever it may be. So Dr. Don is a mentor of mine, and I wouldn't be where I am without him. So I just wanted to shout out all the mentors out there. If you don't have mentors, entrepreneurs, please make the investment to surround yourself with good, proven mentors. That's all I got.
And that's a lot. So Kelvin King, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for being here. We're glad you're in the living room. So be the captain of your own vessel is something that I heard also as a mentee of Don Viapre's. It's really been something that he has poured into me for many, many years. And recently, probably about 3 months ago, he said, he repeated it and added a line. And that line was, trust yourself more. And I think when you do have, as Kelvin King said, mentors who will then pour into you, you are a better person for it. So again, the purpose of this gathering is really so that we can hear from leaders. We can hear from Don and his excellency today, so that we can get their pearls of wisdom, so that we can then go on and lift up and be stronger individually and collectively. I mean, there have been times where we've come together, there have been laughs, there have been tears, but there's always an inspiration in the room. So now I want to begin to prepare the microphone for Dr. Don Viapre. I will say he is someone who has been in my life for the majority of my adult life. He is and has been recognized for the work that he's done in telecommunications. And as mentioned, Don Viapre, he retired in 2015 after leading the government affairs section of Cablevision and doing so many other things. While at Cablevision, he negotiated contracts and he was involved in leading negotiations for more than 80 municipalities throughout the state of New Jersey. I will tell you, he has an undergraduate degree in business administration from Bowling Green State University. He has an honorary doctoral degree in human letters County College that came by way of the president of the college in 2013. He has numerous affiliations, one being the work that he does and continues to do with the Newark Rotary and so many other organizations like African Americans for Health Awareness. Many accolades are attached to his name. I think many, if not all of you, most, if not all of you know Don. So he really doesn't need a whole lot of introduction, but I will say that I am so blessed because he is in my life. I am a better person because of him. And I'll turn it over to say he encourages us to think globally, not just locally, not just regionally, not just nationally, but globally. He's a trusted advisor. He's a friend. He's a mentor. He is a father. He is a husband to his beautiful queen, Claudia. And at this point, some of us call him Don. Some call him Guru. Some call him Dr. Don. Some call him the Don. Everyone, thank you for being here. It is my pleasure to go on mute and turn the microphone over to Don Viapre. Thank you, Don. You're on mute, Don.
Okay, sorry. Thank you so much for that introduction. Before we start, I'd like to ask us to take a moment of silence for all those who have fallen amongst us and around us since our last Zoom event. So could you please bow your heads in a moment of silence in remembrance of all those who have passed. Thank you very much for your reverence and your respect. I want to take just a moment to mention how we got here at this topic that we're about to discuss with His Excellency. It is, as Kaylin mentioned, and as Andrew alluded to, over the years that I have discovered how we actually, as souls who are on this journey, passing through, need to fortify and need to equip ourselves with the necessary tools in order to guide our vessels and strengthen it, and in order to make a path and follow a path and lead by that path, and sometimes be led by that path as long as it's illuminated. And then I got to thinking that, well, you can't just be path and just follow path. You have also, you're on that path, because you will get tired. You will be detracted. You will be sometimes uh, in that path. And so you need someone to pick you, and your team has to be as good or better than you as you kept in your vessel. And that is why we're here today. We're here today with leaders who have actually captained their vessel very well. And my friend, His Excellency, Nana John Boahen, who, by the way, I've met and known since 1971. So it's exact, and that we're here today following 50 years of relationship with Nana John Boahen. Exactly 50 years. Give and take a few days. If this is not divine providence, I don't know what is. Quite some time since that inception at the university in 1971, he, unbeknownst to most, has actually also gave me the foundation, amongst others, for my Afrocentrism and my understanding of the culture of the continent of Africa, and also the politics as it relates to the entire continent of Africa. I owe a great deal to Nana John Boahen, and publicly I want to salute him. I want to express my gratitude to him, because he has been one who has brought me up from where I was in terms of my awareness and my consciousness from 1971. Nana John Boahen moved on from Bowling Green in 1976, I believe, is when he had graduated and moved to Canada with his family. He worked with Robin Hood Multi-Foods as a procurement officer for about 20 years. And then in 2002, he joined the Foreign Service of Ghana and was appointed to the position of First Consul General for Toronto for Ghana. In 2006, he was promoted to Deputy High Commissioner in 2006 as Deputy High Commissioner for Ghana in South Africa, where he stayed until his retirement. Nana, it is my honor to introduce you to the virtual living room for this discussion. Feel free to get us started. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear
Good
me?
morning.
Okay.
They're on
morning.
mute.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Brother Don, for your kind introduction. Like you said, we go all the way back 50 years ago. It's unbelievable. Time flies, eh? I'm really glad to be part of this discussion today. I don't profess to be an expert in the area. It's going to be informal, and we're all going to put our mind together to see if we can come up with a very concrete solution at the end of our discussion. Let me start by quoting one philosopher and writer by name Michael Josephson. I quote, he said, the key to success is effort. The bigger the goal, the greater the effort. I'll repeat again. The key to success is effort. The bigger the goal, the greater the effort. Now, setting goals and effort to achieve results sort of becomes a way of really empowering yourself or enhancing the captainship of the vessel that one wants to really control. And I have identified quite a few areas. It's a very broad area, but I've narrowed it to a few areas that I will throw to all of us for us to ponder on. My first and foremost is we will have to the first one is self-discipline. The second one is we have to have self-esteem. The third one, empathy. The next one is resistance and persistence. Then positivity, control, humility, and assertiveness. All these are qualities that are needed for one to be a good captain of their own vessel. These are some of the goals that one sets to achieve. And as you achieve it successfully, it builds up or empowers you to be a good captain of your vessel. The last and most important of these attributes is one has to broaden their knowledge. So they say that knowledge is power. And I will set a few examples of people who have used these attributes to mold their own life and have been successful in their endeavors to do things for humanity. The first one that comes to mind is our own Dr. Martin Luther King. He had all these qualities, and he was able to really use them to achieve the human rights goals that we all now do enjoy. The second mentor is my own deceased President, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first African leader to obtain independence for Ghana south of the Sahara. These qualities really molded and inspired him to lead the country to obtain the independence that was required. He did not even stop or end there. He was further inspired to even pronounce that the independence of his own country, which is Ghana, is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa, which he pursued. And I'm proud to say he's one of the pioneering agents of the AU that is in existence now. The next one is our brother and father, Dr. Mandela. He was resistant and persistent, coupled with all these qualities that I enumerated before. He went to jail. He didn't quit. You cannot be a quitter. He stayed and steered the ship to a successful grounds. And through him, he was able to break the shackles of apartheid South Africa. So these are some of the heroic mentors. They may be deceased, but still we can draw inspiration and recognize what they did. So we can empower ourselves or learn to empower ourselves in the areas where these leaders really veered to shape society, to shape the Black race, to shape humanity. So, like I said, the qualities or the ingredients of being a good captain of your vessel is so wide. But I'm glad I could only come up with just a few for us to all ponder and see what we can come up with. I would like to repeat those areas again. We have to be able to make choices. We have to be selfless and disciplined. We have to be empathic, showing empathy, resistance, and persistence, positivity, control. When I say control, I mean controlling your own ship. If you want to be a good captain, you have to have the courage and the wisdom to control things. You don't abandon ship in the middle of the ocean. You have to equip yourself so much so that your followers will have confidence in you. And these three leaders that I've mentioned, they all had all these qualities. And by the way, there is one heroine by name Yasantua. Yasantua, was an Ashanti. And in 1900, when the British wanted to take the golden stool of the great king of Ashanti, men were sort of afraid. And this woman was the one person who stood up to the British and led the whole army. They led the whole army of the Ashanti to see the British and was able to throw them from seizing that golden stool. So with this backdrop, I would like to open the floor for discussions. And if there are any questions that you may have, me and my brother Don will be more than willing. We try to explain as much as possible. So thank you very much. And that's my brief and concise introduction to the background of our discussion today. Thank you.
Don?
I would like to thank Nana for his brief introduction on the topic. I will also add that in order to captain your vessel, you should also definitely know your history. You should definitely know everything, as Nana alluded to, about the area of your passion and your talent. You should try to learn as much as possible from others who have preceded you and others who are actually on the same path with you. And simultaneously, you should not omit any knowledge of any sort of anything that you think may not be connected to what it is that you are doing, because everything is connected to everything. You must also, at the same time, find within your heart, within your fire, to transform your fears, your apprehensions, or your fears into fuel. Then you must take that fuel and you must rejuvenate the issues, the teachable lessons, and turn that into power. And then you must hit the reset of your past failures and turn that into victories. Always, always remain deeply anchored by your conviction, your uncompromising conviction. And definitely intensify your stimulation with the use of your passion. And then finally, remain motivated by the results which you produce. Because once you start producing results, it should lead you on to produce other results. And you will then understand the dynamics, the miraculousness of captaining your ship. So I open it to anyone who's in our virtual living room who wishes to speak.
Don, there may be some questions that come about, but all are invited to chime in either in the chat or to come off mute. I do want to ask one question, but first to His Excellency. Thank you so much for again being here from. I know you're about 6 hours ahead of us in time, those of us who are in New Jersey. And I appreciate those pearls of wisdom that you shared, those attributes that you shared and examples, human examples that you offered. Don, there's something that you just mentioned, and you said, take those teachable lessons and turn that into power. And so I would like for one or both of you to share your thoughts on what does that mean? How do you activate? What's the process that you've gone through to activate that, how do you take those lessons and really, really activate them?
You can go first, Nana.
Because, and I'll say this, I think it's a matter of us stepping into our power so that we're walking in our purpose. And so if you could just share a little bit more of your thoughts about that, I would appreciate it.
Well, you try as much as possible to avoid negativity. For example, when we were at college, we used to, work full time and at the same time attend school. It was a very hectic combination. Coupled with the fact that workplace, there were in the 70s, early 70s, there was all kinds of discrimination, and you go to work and utterances that really put you down. But we were able to thwart off all these negativities and stayed on top of our goal. We knew what we wanted. We wanted to work, earn some money to pay off our school fees and stuff like that. These are, in those days, and even now, it's all part of life. If you don't stay focused and you get distracted by the negativities and all these things, it will not take you anywhere. You have the choice either to be angry and follow, argue, or you have the choice to stay calm and stay focused and just look towards your own goal. If you take Martin Luther King, he had a choice. His choice was, do I be nonviolent or do I be violent? Obviously, he chose nonviolent, and it took it. So, Dawn, I don't know if you have anything else to throw more light on the question that our sister is asking.
Well, since you went back to the place where we met, we can spend days illustrating so many experiences that we've had in which teachable lessons were transformed into power. For instance, because as Nana John Boahen alluded to the extreme discrimination that we faced on that campus and in that community and in that area in Ohio at that time. We were a small group on that campus of 15,000 students. There were no more than 100 Black students from America and from the diaspora and Africa. And so it was harsh. And so our dignity, our African personality was challenged on all fronts, at all times, in all corners. And we had to find the fortitude within us, the strength, the power within our souls that our ancestors had actually seeded in us. And we had to come together. And in that coming together, we realized, Kaylin, the power that we had. Because when we came together and collaborated, we discovered that there was nothing that we could not have gotten accomplished. When like-minded minds come together, you can achieve things that seemingly appear and falsely appear to be impossible. One example, we had a brother from Ethiopia who was a good and dear friend, and a soldier in our movement that had gone for the weekend to visit some of his friends on a campus in Indiana. And coming back by car with his friends, he was in the back seat, sleeping, head against the window, and a car hit that door where he was sleeping, and he died instantly. And we lost brother Asfawusin Gebra Memphis. Well, Asfawusin Gebra Memphis was from Ethiopia. So we were faced with the deliberation of how do we get brother Asfawusin remains back to his family in Ethiopia. And we did it. We did it because we had formed a coalition with the Black churches in the nearby community. We did it because we had not just formed that collaboration, but we had attended their meetings. They had attended our meetings. They had supported our events. We supported their events. Because remember, we're only a small number on this vast campus experiencing these harsh conditions. So it is through collaborations, coalitions, organizations that we discovered that we could transform teachable lessons into power and into positive action.
Thank you, Don. Again, all are invited to join the conversation. We're in that Q&A section of the program, and I know Don, I believe, will have some closing remarks, but just again, wanted to open up the floor to see if there were any other questions or comments, feedback, thoughts. All are welcome.
Good afternoon.
This is
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay. This is Doreen, and I'm curious about sort of timing and pace of seeing results, and also lately my experience has been a feeling that there's more I'm supposed to do. The challenge has been, well, what is it? There's uncertainty, lack of clarity, some distractions, and a bit of fear. Therefore, without the clarity and the vision, there's a bit of a slowdown and get into action. And quite honestly, a concern of mine has been, whatever it is, if this thing that I'm feeling is on point of getting it done before my time expires.
I want to answer that by stating the way in which I handle such challenges when I did face them is to be in a place that gives me and provides silence, and silence for a very long time. And thereby, from that silence, I enter a meditational state. And I ask those same questions that is haunting you. And when I do, as often as I do, the more answers and responses that I get. I'm reminded, Doreen, by something an elderly person a long time ago. Sometimes when you're searching for something, and oftentimes when you're searching for something, in your case, something extra that you think you're supposed to do, it is often something that you are already doing, but you're not doing it to the level and degree that you're doing it so that it's getting recognized by you. In other words, you're doing a primary function. You're doing a few secondary functions. You're doing some tertiary functions, and then you're just maybe doing a hobby and you enjoy doing something else. It is those minor things that you have been doing that need to be elevated and upgraded, fine-tuned and expanded, and blown up and distributed. So I wouldn't look too far or too deep. I would analyze what it is that are your gifts and your talents. Utilize all of them, because we have more than one, and make sure that it is perhaps one of those that need to be elevated. Fear is something that comes naturally. And like I said, if we understand that this naturalness of fear is something that we have to subside if we can't make it disappear, and we do it primarily by allowing ourselves to do the things that encourage us, that give us audacity, that gives us power, that gives us confidence, as Nana said, that gives us self-esteem, that gives us control, that gives us the persistence which our elders and our ancestors have led the way in the path for us to follow. So I hope that helps you and illuminates some of the ideas that I think I wanted to pass on to you at this time.
I'd love to say something, if I might. Can you hear me?
Sure. Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry for being late. I just came back from playing tennis and walking my dog, so I'm covered with dog hair and sweat. So apologies for that. And I'm here with you. This is Gail Thompson in South Africa, in Knysna. I thought that what you just said, Doreen, I think your name is, was so on point. And I think I have that feeling often, you know. I retired 5 years ago, and I sit here thinking, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing? What's my contribution? I don't feel like I've made all the contributions that I am here to do. But, you know, I think that it's really simpler, more simple than we think it is. It's not big, it's small. And it's the things that we see every day. I find a lot of times, you know, I'm on Facebook more than I care to admit. And I see a lot of sites where, you know, Black people are complaining about this or that, or why are people this way or that way, or, you know, they're taken offense by various things. And we complain to each other about that instead of taking action, small action. And I recently did something that reminded me how simple the action that we need to take sometimes is. I watch a lot of tennis, okay, and Prudential has is a major sponsor of a lot of the major tournaments that happen. And I noticed that they had little clips during their segments of young players, featuring them in their ads. And they were white and they were blonde and whatever. And there weren't any Black ones. And I was shocked because I live in South Africa, and this is in South Africa where the majority of people are Black. And, it would have been, typical for me to just think, oh, isn't that terrible? But I wrote them on their Twitter account. I, within hours, got a response from their marketing people. And within 10 days of my complaint, and they told me at first, oh, they couldn't find anybody. That their typical, that their ad company said there weren't any Blacks, and that they didn't want, the Blacks to look American. They wanted them to look South African. I'm telling you, within 10 days, there was a young Black girl who is now featured regularly in those ads. Okay. We need to call out anytime we see something, we need to say something, anytime. And it's each of us individually. And I learned this a long time ago, that when they get one comment, they realize that comment is representative of thousands of people think. So one comment is enough for them to take action. So a lot of times for us, when we think, we've got to get together and we've got to do something big, and it drives me crazy when I watch TV or I'm, out in the street and, here in South Africa, how many affronts there are. Our society, our world is not geared toward us. Our world is not, it doesn't focus on us. The world is structured to see it through white eyes. And that's fine because they run everything. And they don't see things the way we see things or the way we want to see things. So it's important for us to say something, to comment on it, to call attention to it, to not sit back and shrug our shoulders and say, there they go again. It's important for us to do something and say something. And as small as we think it is, it's huge. So we don't have to sit back and think, oh, what do I do? I've got to start a movement. I've got to start in your living room. Start on social media. Social media is a powerful, way too powerful, in my opinion, thing. But it is powerful, and we need to use it to our advantage. And not simply to talk to each other, but to start to form a world that we want to shape for us and our children, the way we want to see it, the way we want to make it, help us feel about ourselves.
Thank you.
We have to stop shrugging our shoulders and saying, there they go again. We've got to start shaping a world that we want to live in and we want to see. And it's with each of our individual actions that we can do that. Sorry, I'm doing something else while I'm talking, so that's why I'm not looking kind of at you all. All right.
We appreciate that, Gail. We appreciate that, Gail, very much. Thank you for the input. That's timely, and that is definitely, I'm sure, Doreen?
I really appreciate Doreen's
Yes.
comment. That was really perfect.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, I thank you both for sharing. Doreen and Miss Gail Thompson, thank you so much for your excellent, as it is said in the chat, excellent advice. I'm reminded of William Ernest Henley's poem that I believe was written in the 1800s, Invictus. And I'm listening to your remarks and your comments to Doreen. I'm reminded that, you know, of those last two lines. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And thank you for reminding us that we have the power to positively influence change. So really appreciate your reply and your remarks. Anyone else?
Yes, thank you very much. This is Boka Benson Nwajago. This is my first time on this platform. Too bad for me because it's so uplifting that I've missed the past ones. Brother Don, I hope you'll keep me on board and so that I don't miss future ones. It's good to connect back with you and with His Excellency Nana. Days go back to the Bowling Green campus. I'd like to congratulate both of you on your career and professional success. It's very encouraging. Brother Don, or the Don, you had always been an encourager and a mentor, and it has blossomed not only to us, but to far and wide. And it's so uplifting to see how you have touched so many lives. Thank you for what you're doing. And I also like to associate myself with the comments Doreen and Gail had on this. And going through the attributes His Excellency enumerated here, these are quite valid attributes, which we seem to put under the rug and not realize how important they are. Discipline, self-esteem, resistance, assertiveness, being persistent, and having passion and positivity. And a few other ones he enumerated. These were attributes that leaders need really. And Dr. Kwame Nkrumah epitomized most of these attributes. I don't know what he will, if he was still alive, what he will think of the goings on in the motherland now, where we are supposed to be in charge, but I don't know if we are really in charge because of the misleadership we have there. But then, coming back to what Gail said, we cannot just sit by and complain. We got to start in our own, even if it's in the bedroom, as she said, or the living room, start something. Don, you know how you did in Bowling Green, how you encourage everyone to start something. I remember Barbara. So what I'm saying is, no matter where we are, we should do something and not just complain and sit by. We can do, even if it is one or two people, a movement starts with a few people. Before you know it, it blossoms. As long as we don't lose path of our goal and strategy. And talking of strategy, look at the strategy Dr. Martin Luther King used. It was non-violence, and he never deviated from there, never, in spite of the fact that people wanted him to be more violent and more reactive and all that, but no, he stayed on that path. So it's very relevant. We are focused on our goal and the strategy to achieve this goal. This is just what I want to say. I thank you very much for this platform. Please keep it up, and I'm encouraged. We're all encouraged. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boka Benson. And I agree, really, really important to start something, do something. It's up to us. Gail Thompson, were you getting ready to say something?
I was, what he said just had a thought, I had a thought about, and now living here in South Africa, I made the decision 5.5 years ago to move here to South Africa because I wanted to live my life in retirement in a place where the majority of people that lived around me looked like me. And I thought it would be different actually than it actually is. Um, I love that I made that decision, and I'm happy to be here. But what I find, and this is in response to the comment just made, that here in the motherland, I think the issue is self-esteem. Now I'll come back to that in a second. I just want to comment on the Martin Luther King thing. Yes, his approach was nonviolent, and his approach accomplished some things, but clearly with what's going on in the United States, the rise of the fan of racism in the United States clearly indicates that not enough was done then. That we didn't accomplish as much as we thought we did, that we hoped we did, and that we need to go back, to the drawing board and figure out where we went wrong and how to fix it. And I think one of the problems, and that problem exists in the US and it exists here in South Africa, is this question of self-esteem. The fact that we've got to find the answer within ourselves. We cannot wait for someone to give us permission to, get an education or to, acquire wealth or to start a company or to do this or do that. We have to grab it for ourselves, and we have to support each other in it. I find a lot of times that we don't support each other, and that is a self-esteem issue. Here in South Africa, I find I live in a place called Knysna. Knysna, I say, is a place that, they didn't get the message that apartheid was over. And, there's still, by and large, the Blacks here, the Africans here, they're mostly colored and Xhosa, are domestics and gardeners and helpers and this and that. And I do a lot of lecturing in schools, and I ask the kids, where do you see yourselves? And they can't see beyond what their parents are and what, the people in their community do. And, when they see, it's unusual both for whites and Blacks to see successful Blacks, okay? And the people who are successful, the Blacks who are successful, are the politicians who seem to be taking advantage of the system kind of thing. And they take advantage of the system because they think that they are more important than the rise up of all their people, the rise up of, to make sure that everyone rises up, okay? People talk about being free here, we're free now. But unless you have economic freedom and educational freedom, you are not free. So I find that the issue here, although there's Black government, and what you said is absolutely true. You think you're in charge, but you're not really in charge if you don't have the economic power. And if you aren't using whatever power you have to help your people do better, if you're not helping your people to get educated and employed. The unemployment rate in South Africa is double digits. It's extraordinary. And it's hugely frustrating to live here, to have moved here and think that somehow I was going to feel better, whole, that I was going to feel whole. And, it's a struggle every day. I don't know how to get that for myself, to be honest, in a society that struggles with its own identity and its self-esteem. Unless you have self-esteem, you don't believe that you are worthy of something better. And you can't achieve something better unless you think you're worthy of it. I would ask the person who just made the comments, how do we go there? How do we get that? How do we change how we think about ourselves? How do we raise the level of self-esteem, self-love in this country? Until we do, we aren't going to get where we're not free.
Let's see.
And that's true in the United States too. I mean, I can't, blacks, it's true in the United States as well. I think we've done better in the United States as a people. We've taken advantage of lots of opportunities since the civil rights movement. But clearly in the hearts and minds of Americans, white Americans, the ones who elected Donald Trump, we have not overcome.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Gail, for your relevant comments. It's the question. Your question says, "What do we do? Where do we start?" As quoting you again, we cannot just sit by. Looks like the leadership in the motherland has failed us. They have failed Kwame Nkrumah. They have failed all those pioneers. That is the big problem. But then, what can we do? I'm from Nigeria, and I find myself in the US, which is not where I want to be at this time. I rather want to go back home, where I believe I belong, but the atmosphere there is, you take your life in your hands as it is, but are we going to give up? No, there are movements, and we should, whatever the movements are, I think every one of us should join. Although the bane of these movements is that they are at each other's throat, but then we cannot give up. That's what happens with movements. There are various factions, but they are all aiming at the same goal. They have a common goal. So whatever the faction you belong into, be active there. Eventually, when we attain that relevance and freedom, which includes economic freedom as well, because as Gail said, if you think you are free and you are still strapped up economically, you're not free. Exactly, which is absolutely correct. So whatever the movement is, even if one is going to start another one, let it be. They might call it various factions. Yes, let them be factions. Even during the Martin Luther King movement, there were factions. Eventually, they had this. They had a common goal, which is freedom. The same thing I think should happen in Africa. I don't know if I'm making sense, but the main thing is that we should not just sit by and complain, because complaining will achieve nothing. Negativity achieves nothing. We have to be positive about it and not give up, just like His Excellency said. You don't give up, you assert yourself, you persist, eventually will get to that goal.
May I say something at this point? As I'm listening to everyone, you're making me go back, and you're making me go way back. I guess almost 50 years.
Who's speaking?
I'm sorry, this is Betty Anderson from Virginia. And where you have sent me was to one of the many, many mentors I've had in my life. But I remember this particular one because she made me cry all the time. And as I now at 78 look back, I am still learning the lessons that she was teaching me back then. I mean, I'm just learning some of them. And essentially what she was doing was to help me become tougher so that I would stop crying and just go on and do work. And one of the things when she would make me so mad and she was planning some activity, and at this point, she herself was in her late 70s, going on into her 80s, would say, it really doesn't matter if you help me or not, because God is going to send me what I need. And so, in any event, and lo and behold, she got everything she needed, whether I helped her or not. And of course, in those instances, I was the loser. But she never stopped. I think that was part of what I saw. And she always had a faith. She had a faith in her own ability. She had a faith in the people around her. And she had a faith that what was placed on her heart was going to get done because things are going to fall into place. And I find that at this point in my life, I have to go back to her to try to remember that I do have the tools, I do have the abilities, and to do as much as I can. And it's not easy. It definitely is not easy. But she didn't tell me it was easy. But boy, she sure made it look easy. But in any event, I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense, but I applaud when it was, the initial start of this conversation of looking at, what is it that we can do, and sometimes we remember when we had all of the resources, especially me in the work world, I had everything I needed whenever it is I wanted to do something. I had the contacts and all of that. But as life goes on, don't have all those same contacts, but still the job needs to be done. But in any event, I may have confused everybody, but boy, you sure helped me get straightened out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Betty Anderson, for your comments. And it's a rich conversation that we're having. I want to make sure that everyone who wants to speak has an opportunity to do so. Anyone else? Because I do have one more question if there's no more, if there's nothing else. And so actually two. Gail Thompson has entered the room. There's so much greatness around this room. His Excellency has spoken. Don has spoken. Gail Thompson, thank you for joining this conversation. Please tell a little bit more about who you are to the room, because I think the richness of what you've shared will then be layered with information about your background.
Hang on. Okay, so most of the people who I know here, I know from my time in Newark. I was involved with the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. I was its vice president of design and construction. So essentially I built NJPAC. I went from there to do the Miami Performing Arts Center, and I went from there to do the Dubai Opera House. I'm an architect by profession, MBA in finance and real estate, and project management has been what I've done as a career internationally at this point. In Dubai, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, I was involved with the Louvre, building the Louvre, Abu Dhabi. What else? A hotel for the Kerzner organization, a university in Dubai. Anyway, I'm a builder. That's what I do. and I'm a real estate investor as a pastime. About 5.5 years ago, I decided to retire when I was living in Dubai. And I just couldn't imagine going back to the United States, which I considered a sort of a toxic environment by then. When you live internationally, when you live abroad, when I lived in the US, I saw the US as an American living in the US. But when I moved abroad, I saw the United States really differently. My sister, who had lived internationally for 30 years and who would always, say things that I thought were disparaging about the US, I thought, where does that come from? But once I moved out of the US, I saw exactly where that comes from. You see it differently. And then it's hard to go back, to be honest. You get to learn that, a lot of people that live in the United States are immigrants and foreigners who choose to assimilate and strip themselves of their identity from where they came so that they're accepted in the US. And I think that's a horrible thing that the US does to people, is make them feel like they've got to reject who they are and where they come from in order to be accepted. I didn't see that when I lived there, but I sure did see it when I left there. Anyway, so now I've lived in South Africa here for 5.5 years in retirement. And I'm enjoying that thoroughly. I've worked on my tennis game. And, my family lives here. My mom, who's 94 and a COVID survivor, lives here. My sister and her family.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we've accepted the motherland as our homeland now. And we're, it isn't without its problems, as you know. It's not without its problems, but I feel that if I want to contribute, I want to contribute here, where the majority of people look like me, and I'm helping people, my people, as I see it, even though Africans don't see me as their people, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm American first. I'm an outsider, and I can tell you lots of funny stories about that. But suffice it to say, I still would rather be here. And yes, that's me in a very, very small nutshell.
No, you could never fit into a nutshell. I just listening to what you said, so thank you for sharing a bit of who you are and what you believe. I hope that you will come back and speak with us in the future. And so
Happy to.
thank you. One question that I have, and this is for any of our speakers today, and it's dealing with that second part of be the captain of your own vessel. It's that line that Don shared with me, and I believe one of the other people in the virtual living room agreed with, and it's the idea of trusting yourself more. And some of that comes from a place. And so I really want to hear more of your thoughts about that, trusting yourself more, and the idea of
I'm in a conference call.
imposter syndrome, and how do you, through your success and how do you deal with that? How do you help yourself trust yourself more?
Oh, may I say something about that? Oh my goodness.
Please.
I have to go all the way back to when I was 25. And I was working at the American Stock Exchange as a project manager. And my boss came to me one day and said, he was a assistant vice president of construction there at the American Stock Exchange. He came to me one early morning and said, I'm resigning, and I want to tell them that I'm recommending you for my job, but I just want to ask you first if that's okay. See you. And I thought, what the hell is he? You know, I'm 25. Oh, and we were doing a major trading floor expansion at the time. So he was running that. And I thought, you know, what does he see in me that would make him think I can do that? But I said to him, yes, you can tell him. Yes, I'm happy to take that. And then I went back to my office and was like, what the heck did I just do? But, you know, I said to myself, you know, if I said no, someone else would get that opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, that opportunity would go to somebody else and I will have missed that opportunity. And from that moment on, and then I remember, so they gave that responsibility to me. And I remember I was so intimidated. And I came home to my mother once and I said, you know, I was in this meeting and they're asking me all these questions and I don't know the answer to these questions. I mean, what am I supposed to do? And she said, back to them. Then go and find out the answer and come back and tell them. And I thought, yes, that's what I'll do. But because my mother's a tough cookie in her own right. But I realized from that time that every opportunity that comes your way is your opportunity. Never, ever say no. Never, ever say no. You know, if you, what doesn't, this expression is 100% true. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What doesn't do you win is a learning experience. And I have spent my life punching above my weight, in my opinion, because I have said yes to everything. And it's led to amazing challenges, for sure, hardships, absolutely, successes, yes, opportunities, rewards, yes. Never say no. Never say, oh, I can't do that. Oh, that's too big for me. Never. Never, ever. If you fail, you learn. That's the worst that can happen.
I want to echo that because I find the same thing in my life, that every time a challenge was thrown in front of me that made me pause, just like Gail said, and wonder, why is that challenge coming? I wonder who is throwing that challenge. Is it a trap? Is it a challenge? Is it real? You know, all those questions that you have going on inside of you. And when I said yes with hesitancy, it turned out, as Gail said, to be a reward, to be a teachable moment, to be a lesson that you can step up and you can step in, and you must step in, because if you miss that opportunity, it will be given to someone who doesn't look like you, and therefore you could do less for others if you had not taken it. So many other things that you will be able to do as a result of it to enhance yourself and others would have gone by the wayside. So that is how, Kaylin, you trust yourself, because when you get thrown a curveball, you have to catch it. You must catch it. And if you miss catching it, you have to run after it because it is still there for you. Never say no. Always go back and find out how you're going to do it. Ask elders, like she did ask her mother the question, because they have wisdom, they have experience. And the
I can also say,
simple answer that they give us makes so much sense.
and I
Go
can
ahead.
also say that even in the moments of failure, I never felt failure. I felt, what am I supposed to get from this? What is the takeaway from this? And I always felt enhanced by it, always better. never wallow in the failures, because a failure is a lesson. I mean, never ever think, never look back, never don't do the next thing because the last thing didn't work. Okay, really, seriously. We're all put on this earth for a purpose. We have meaning. We have, I have to honestly say that I am not a person that I believe in God is faithful, believes that that if you live faithfully, meaning that if you trust that your path is a positive one, then everything that gets put in your path is meant for you, good or bad. It's meant for you. And it's meant to take you to a positive place. Even if in the moment it doesn't feel that way, it is. And so I live faithfully. I live with the faith that everything that happens is for my, you'll excuse the expression, own good.
Mhm. Is there anything you want to add to that, Nana?
Well, I must say that I'm really overwhelmed by the quality of contributions that panel members have put forward. It's really, really very, very, very uplifting. And, like I said, knowledge is power. And what they have imparted, to all of it will really season us very well to be good captains of our vessel. Mind you, we keep, building and building and building so that, we'll become the best person to lead either in politics, social science, entrepreneurship, all phases of life. So I'm really, really, really appreciative for the contribution that our panel have put forward. It has really, really enriched my knowledge, personally. One will have to read maybe about 10 books to come up with such a summary of wealth of ideas that they have really pronounced out. Brother Boka, thank you so much. It's been a while. It's been years, 50 years now.
Thank you, Excellency.
And I'm, really, and I'm glad to, like you said, I would like Don to make us, part of this group. It is really, really worth it. And, we hope to. The notice was so short, I couldn't invite, friends, to be part of it. But, I thank you all so much.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you.
All the contribution that, has been, And my sister in South Africa, I also used to be live in Pretoria, Johannesburg, Pretoria, Langa, all those. Yes, I lived there for. That's where I have my tour of duty as the Deputy High Commissioner. And
I see, fantastic. It's a beautiful country.
It is. But my experiences with an interaction with the local people, I realized that there was so much negativity, but it was the apartheid system that, bred them to be that way. For example, they thought, the average Black person there, post-apartheid, thought that, they were even better off than any Black person outside. So when they're referring to it, sometimes they make the expression, you people out there. I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
Until one day my own driver told me that, sir, they don't know any better. So they think they are better than you people out there. And that's what the system, has
Yeah.
really inculcated into their mind. Until the second time that I
One of the one of
when
the things, if you could speak to for me, I mean, I don't understand. So I find apartheid ended, and it was a whites versus black thing, okay? But then when apartheid ended, it resulted in what I see now in a Zulu versus Xhosa versus this versus that. It's very
yeah,
polarized among the
right,
Africans, and they
it is
can't
true.
seem to come together for the good of all people, all African people, I mean, this
Yeah,
whole thing with Zuma
Zuma,
now,
yeah,
is an
it's a
example,
shame.
all the unrest caused by the Zulus in support of Zuma, who did nothing for anybody.
Yeah,
But they defend him because he's Zulu. Instead of
right.
looking at the future of South Africa, and we're all in this together, and we need to rise together. I just, this is a frustration that I
It's failure
just
of
am not
leadership.
smart enough to get my head around.
I
But
think
Mariposa should have been a leader a long time ago, but because of threats and all that, they just tell you this is not your time. Stay away from it. And when they say that, they really mean it. So, it took him a while. He's a vendor. He's from the north or whatever, and he had to wait his time before, So within the different ethnic groups, there's some kind of division, you know. It's not only unique to South Africa, we find it invariably in other African countries, you know, but some places it's very severe as compared to other places. Bokra, I think maybe you can attest to that fact.
Your Excellency, that's why I referred to, where the little talk I made. I said if Dr. Kwame Nkrumah were still alive today, he'd be ashamed of the leadership we have in Africa. It's failure. It's a leadership failure. Actually, it wasn't there. This division wasn't highlighted. It was not at the forefront when he was in charge. When Nelson Mandela was there, though I wasn't there, I didn't live in South Africa. I didn't think the divisions came to the forefront as they are now. It's all over the place. I think it's failure of leadership. I might be wrong, but if leaders in Africa rise to the occasion and make us see ourselves as Africans rather than belonging to the tribes. Yeah, I know we have tribal divisions, but those pale if we focus on the uniqueness of our continent and the uniqueness of our various nations. These tribal divisions will pale significantly. So it still boils down to a leadership failure. And as Gail said, we cannot just sit by and let this blossom. We need to do something. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think we will get there. We will eventually.
Gail, you're on mute.
Am I?
No, Gail, I believe Gail
No,
is saying.
yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I have faith in that. That's why I'm here. I mean, I think they will get it right eventually. I mean, if Julius Malema would stop speaking, and if he could link arms instead of just want to hear himself speak, Maybe we'd have a way to go. But yeah, no, you're right. It is a failure of leadership, and it's a failure of unity. It's a failure of seeing beyond your own personal needs and goals, as a political influencer, and looking out for the greater good. South Africa is an extraordinary country with a lot of potential, it has to get there. It will get there in other lifetimes, maybe not ours.
That's correct.
I'd like to also say that, trust, as you said, and faith and hope, self-esteem, discipline, as Nana pointed out, amongst all the other tools that we need to use
Education.
within ourselves, and education and knowledge, the acquisition, the urge, the enthusiasm for knowledge. And then listen to the elders, ask questions of the elders, because they have the wisdom. Whenever we hit a roadblock, or whenever we don't understand something, or something appears to be out of whack, just the simplicity of their wisdom will elevate our understanding and awareness, and will also elevate our hope, and will give us the strength that we need when we think we're at a point of weakness or a point of depression. They will raise us up again and again. Unless there's any further comments or questions, we want to move towards closure, but I want to leave it open if there's anybody that want to say anything else.
Yeah, this is Dr. Carlo from Atlanta. I want to use this opportunity to thank Don, whom I met in Bowling Green in 1973. I used to attend classes with his wife, Claudia, and and I'm very happy that I've been reconnected to Don by Boca. And I use this opportunity also to thank His Excellency, Nana John.
Yeah.
I also met you in Bowling Green with John Edusei,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and Manny Tufo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I was in Bowling Green, which I later on transferred to University of Toledo, where I completed my pharmacy degree. I'm a retired pharmacist, and I worked for Emory for 36 years before retiring a year ago. And I'm very delighted to have been a part of this meeting. It's very interesting to see what others are doing. And at least since I retired, this is the first meeting I've had for 1 year now. And I really appreciate this meeting and all the things that are being discussed. As I said, I'm a living example. When I came to Bowling Green, I didn't know anybody. It was sheer determination after the Biafran Civil War in Nigeria, which I fought in the Biafran-Nigerian War. When I came with nothing. But that's why I have to thank Don's wife, who always sneaks some food to me to eat because I didn't have any money to buy anything. But she was very helpful. And also Boka and Uwem, who is passed away. And I just want to let you know that the Ethiopian guy that died was my roommate when he was killed. Yeah, this thing. So I really appreciate all the things that is happening. And also, I believe in self-discipline, because if you come from Africa to this country and you are not disciplined, you will fall by the wayside. And I always believe, as I said, you always believe in yourself and what you can do. I always mentor some pharmacy students, a lot of our Black students. I said, you cannot claim discrimination if you don't have anything to offer, because some people just think everything will come to them without any work. You have to work hard. And if you work hard, you reap the reward of your hard work. And I believe in that. And also, Even though we have not said, I believe that God, in everything we do, we must ask God for guidance. And it has been my helper since I arrived here, and has never left me alone. And I've been able to wade through all things in my profession. Actually, when I came to Emory in '83, before I applied, they told me they don't hire blacks in that pharmacy. I said, well, I'm black, but I have some gray matter in me, and I have something to offer. So when I went for the interview, it was an easy thing, and I was the first one to be hired there because I had something to offer for them. So I always encourage people, never give up. And I encourage my children also, never give up. And I'm proud to say they have all been doing very well, and they are struggling, but they have succeeded in all the things they are doing. And I thank you all for inviting me for this meeting, and I appreciate, and I will be able to attend this meeting again if anytime I'm invited. And I thank you all for all this.
Thank you, Don. Or is there, I think we're about at the point of wrapping up. Don, are there any other comments? Because I'm feeling that this has been a wonderful conversation, an uplifting conversation where we've gotten global perspectives, life lessons, leadership lessons. There was sharing of self and offering of attributes. And at some point, if you have ideas and thoughts about topics we should be covering in this virtual living room, please reach out to me. I dropped my email address into the chat. I somehow feel like, and as much as the conversations are great, this collective group may and does have the power to influence and change. So it seems to me like, I don't know, in my head and heart, it feels like we're moving in a direction of being able to collectively come together to do something to make some difference somewhere in the world. Collectively. So Don, I turn it over to you for the last comment, and then we will, wish you all the best for the rest of the day, and have an even better ahead. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Don?
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
want to express my abundant gratitude to each of you for taking the time, your precious time and your precious schedule of this day to share and be present in the virtual living room. I want to especially thank Nana John Boahen, my friend for over 50 years, for his contribution to this discussion. I want to assure all of you that the next one, you will all be invited in advance. I do believe that we shall continue this discussion about be the captain of your vessel as a series. We will just have different presenters and leaders of the discussion in the future. And I am also grateful, particularly that my friend Gail Thompson was able to join us and make her valuable input from South Africa at this time, and perhaps will join us again in the future as a presenter on this topic. So I look forward to that in the months ahead and weeks ahead as we plan the next one. In addition, in closing, I want to say that we learned quite a few things in this. We learned, as Gil said, never to say no. We learned to put trust at the foremost part of our journey and of ourself. We also learned to be selfless, as Nana said, to be hopeful, to seek knowledge and to seek assistance, and never give up and never give in. Always be sturdy, always stay focused. And something else, when we see something that disturbs us, when we identify or hear or discover something that is not right, that is unjust, that is unrighteous, and that is not true, we need to stand and we need to speak up and we need to do something about it. We must not be complacent. We don't come from a complacent people. We don't come from a silent people. We don't come from an ignorant people. We come from a people who forged ways when there was no way, who constructed and made things when there was nothing. And so to honor our elders, we need to do what we need to do when we feel in our hearts that something is happening and something that we're experiencing is wrong. And so I thank you once more. And unless anybody has anything else to say, I'd like to close it out by saying to Andrew, who is our Zoom master today, I appreciate you. Thank you for opening this up and for being the technical person that allowed this to happen and will continue to make this happen again.
Thank you.
Any closing matters from anybody before we shut down?
So-
Yes. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Edwin, say.
Yeah, yes, sir. I would just like to say, this has been mind-blowing for me. Being an immigrant myself, living in the United States, coming from Liberia. I just turned 50 years old this year, and to be in the presence of all the knowledge and wisdom, I know now how the second half of my life is going to go. With the counsel of you, sir, Every, and His Excellency, Gail, just listen to what you all have said. I can't tell you how inspiring it's been. And as I look towards my own future and one day returning home to Liberia to help hold our own country and looking at the landscape of Africa, I'm honored and I'm just grateful that I can be here to be a part of this. I appreciate every one of you and I thank you for your input.
We thank you for joining. Anyone else before we close?
Say hi to your wife.
I shall. Hi, Gail.
Thanks for inviting me, Don. I appreciate it.
And the
It's been
future,
great.
Gail?
Thank you all. This has been a very rewarding experience. Thanks for putting it together. Gail Thompson, thanks for your inputs. Doreen, thank you. Edwin, thank you all.
Yeah, and Brother Nana?
Yeah, I thank all of you, for allowing me to, share with you the little knowledge that I have in the area. And, the wealth of contribution that came from the panel is really amazing. I'm really honored to have been chosen to be part of this group. And I hope to join you in the subsequent ones ahead. So thank you so much.
Okay, on that note, we will close. And again, thank you all for the time that you took. Please spread the word. And if you've gained something from this, each one must teach one as we reach one. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Andrew, thank you for recording. I think you could probably even stop the recording now. And everyone enjoy the rest of this day.